Made a lot of changes lately, so I have to. It doesn't do the things the way it used to, so I have to think about that every time.
Yeah, I don't envy you having to run the command center.
And for Instagram, you have to do a separate thing that you have to do for all the other platforms, which is also annoying. So, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Chris M. Walker. I am the CEO and founder of Legit.com, the world's only B2B growth engine, and the founder of Superstar SEO, a seven-figure SEO business. And today we're going to be joined with a guest. But before we do that, there's a couple of quick things to take care of. First of all, if you're watching this on a replay, I'm getting to where I'm starting to edit this part out. But in case you're watching this on a replay and you can still see me right now, you're going to want to skip ahead to about the 10-minute mark because we're going to do some live interactive stuff, some giveaways and that sort of thing. And it won't be very interesting because you won't be able to play along because you weren't here live. And my question for you for not being here live is, what the hell's wrong with you? That's when the best stuff happens. That's when you can win prizes. That's when you can talk to your guests or our guests, myself. So do me a favor and click subscribe and notification, and then I'll see you in just a second. For everyone else, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it. I'm going to do some fun stuff. We got some great information lined up. But before I do any of that, can you let me know if the picture and sound quality is okay? Because the last thing you want on one of these things is to be saying all this stuff you think you're being really interesting and nobody can hear or see you. And I don't say that as a anecdote. That's something that's happened before. So please let me know how the sound and picture quality is. We've got a lot of people waiting, and it looks like a lot of people I don't recognize, which is good. Not that, that's bad to have regulars, but it's nice to see some new faces too. Jeremy Christ, it says, yo. Premium Websites Inc. says hello. There's your free plug. I got that from The Office, by the way, for anyone that's wondering. Advanced refrigeration. Darren says, let's roll. I'm going to do you the courtesy of not pronouncing your name wrong and say time to do that. Nafiz says, Eid Mubarak. Eid Mubarak to you as well. 11 Path Media says, sounds fine. It looks good. There's your free plug. All right. And lots of other people saying sounds fine. So I'm going to spare you the trouble of reading all of those. But what we're going to do now is going to give away some free stuff because who doesn't like free things? So let me share my screen. All right. We are here at the Legit merch store. That is located at shop.legit.com if you are interested in getting some. But I would wait just a minute because what we're going to do here in a moment is give away a piece of legit merchandise to one person. Now, we've got some new additions. We changed the look of some of them. Before the logo was down here, we found that it looked a little better up here. We added some stickers. We have coffee. If you want to get that, we have legit coffee. Unfortunately, I can't drink coffee because it gives me heart palpitations. Not caffeine, just coffee. It's a very weird condition, but I found that out the hard way. Anyhow, not that anyone asked, but hooded blanket, mouse pad, and some other cool stuff. The attractive ladies do not come with the merchandise. I know that's been a question that we've had numerous times, and we're not that kind of business here. So don't count on that. But anyway, what we're going to do is in a minute, I'm going to ask you to type a word in the chat or in the comments, wherever it is that you're watching. And then we'll go for a few minutes. And while I annoy some other people with some @everyone tags, and then we'll choose a winner. So coffee smells like burnt tuna to me. I actually love the smell of coffee, but it literally puts me in the hospital, which we don't like. So we're going to keep it real simple today and just go Ed for our keyword. So just wherever you're watching, just type Ed into the comments or in the chat or whatever it is, wherever you are, because we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or excuse me, X, Twitch, 2 different YouTube channels, LinkedIn, and 2 different places on Facebook. So we are internationally known and locally respected. And while people are doing that, what I'm going to do is go ahead and go over to some different places and get some other eyeballs on this, even though it's going to make some people mad at me because getting a notification is extremely triggering to some folks. But, it works. So blame Facebook. Or don't. I don't really care either way. Also, recently, Facebook made a change where I can't stream directly to a group. So I have to go to a page and then share it to a group, which just doesn't get near the amount of reach. So that's discouraging. Right. What I'm doing right now is, but in addition to that, is just continuing to talk because no one wants just silence on a stream. So that's why I'm rambling like this. Now with Edward Baker. And lots of people saying Ed because they want to look as cool as I do in this awesome, legit merch. That's not me being pompous. That's a joke, just in case anybody doesn't get my sense of humor. And at everyone in Superstar SEO. And we got one more place, and we're going to go till about 5:08, and then we'll sing a song out loud. That would not be in anyone's best interest. I've heard myself in the shower, and I will spare you that. All right, and then we got one more place that we want to get some eyeballs from because we got a pretty good turnout today, especially for it being a little bit later in the day, which never made sense to me, but I don't know. I guess at my day job, I was more likely to watch it while I was not working than I was to when I got home.
We could take you home on your drive, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Depending on where you live and how good your coverage is, I guess. Yeah. I definitely do that though. Like I listen to like podcasts and audiobooks while I drive or while I walk. I've picked up a lot of great information that way. And it's a great way to make use of time where you really can't do anything else.
Do you speed listen or you just normal listen? Because I know people who speed listen as well.
For a long time, I just did normal. Recently, I've moved it up to 1.5, and I find that makes it a lot easier because some of these books are 10, 12 hours long. So I find that I don't lose anything that way, and I can get through more of them.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got a buddy who splices them together. So not only is he speed listening, but he'll put 20 episodes in one audio track. So he just clicks play. So when he's traveling, it's just continuous.
If it's a podcast, that makes a lot of sense because those platforms are terrible at being able to play them in like reverse order. I don't know why. It seems like such
just accessibility too, right? If you're on and off planes and things like that, it's just easier to have one big file that is on your device.
Yeah. The way I actually first started listening to podcasts was years ago. Russell Brunson put out like 3 or 4 years of his on like a thumb drive.
Yeah, and I remember that.
Yeah, I bought that, and like that really got me hooked on listening to business podcasts. I don't listen to that podcast anymore, but let's see. All right, when I think I'm done sharing the wealth, paper and a highlighter for me, books that matter, Kindles for those that kind of do. So, I wish that I could say that I can read a regular 20th century type book as well. I just don't have the attention span for it. I don't know why. I can't stand having to do just the one thing at a time. It's probably something I should work on, but it takes me a long time to get through them. So, all right, let's go ahead and choose our winner. You can stop saying Ed now, please. Thank you. Hopefully it doesn't pick me. That's happened a couple times. Congratulations, Joe. Joe's a regular here, so congratulations, my friend. What you are going to do, where did my mouse go? There it is go over to shop.legit.com. You are going to choose the piece of merchandise that you want. Ooh, I just saw one that I hadn't seen before. And then what you're going to do, if it's something that's like a t-shirt or something that requires a size, know what size that you need, and then head over to legit.com and message our support team. Tell them that you won. Tell them what size you have or you need and what you would like and your address, and they will get that right out to you. So congratulations, Joe, for being today's winner. So now that that's done, for those of you that I was told to jump to the 10-minute mark, welcome back. For everybody else, thanks for staying here with us. We just gave away some merch, but now what we're going to do is introduce today's guest, who is Edward Baker. Edward has a interesting story about how he went from the events business into the SEO business and now does a ton with SEO, and he's got some cool stuff to share with us today. So Ed, how's it going?
What's up, Chris? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I know we scheduled this quite a while ago, so I'm glad that we're getting to do it now. So I guess the first thing to do is maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your origin story, and then how you got to where you are now and what you're doing now, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So I started in the events industry, just done events for years, right? Years and years and years, 17 years, 18 years, 19 years. I'm known as like the red carpet guy. So I literally sell the red carpet you see on TV, and I do a ton of installations at those events for all different types of brands, celebrity artists on tours, big premieres, that sort of stuff. So it's been transitioning like a regular standard event rental and production company into an e-commerce company. And I've been doing that, for a decade now. And COVID came in, obviously, and just shut the events industry down. So we had to pivot, and I had a lot more time on my hands when COVID hit because I wasn't working and dealing with anything. It was literally like crickets. And so I've always been into digital marketing because I've been trying to sell more carpet. I've been trying to help my business, and I've hired consultants and not gotten the results I wanted, or, they couldn't answer my questions. They couldn't explain things. It was SEO people and advertising agencies and all that stuff. So coming from like small business owner aspect is what got me really serious about the digital marketing, just because I wanted to do better, just like everyone else wants to do better. So I think my perspective is interesting in the SEO world because I'm coming at it from someone who just wanted to make more money and grow their business, not worried about being an agency, signing new clients, onboarding, all that kind of stuff. So really, I just wanted to get to the truth as fast as possible. And so I've kind of had my head down for the past 5 years, wound up meeting some folks over at the Heavy Hitter Club who taught me some foundations to SEO. One of them, probably Marco, who the inventor of the Drive Stack. Everybody talks about Drive Stacks, Google Drive Stacks. And then Rob, who invented, I guess, Schema Tech software, which stacks schema.
He was on the channel a couple of years ago, actually.
Yeah, I think for sure, Rob. But his software, node references schematic architecture, and you can do a lot of really cool stuff with that. So I've learned a bunch from those guys. They introduced me to their community, a bunch of other heavy hitters, as we call them. And I've learned all sorts of concepts from like AI to, SEO. And I've kind of just started to put it all together. And I'm taking all of the core training that we have, and now I'm finally applying it to like a software, which I won't sell too hard on here today, but there's a lot of research I can share with you guys behind that software and, where it came from. But essentially we're entity-based SEO obsessed. And, for the past few years, I've had my focus on growing digital brands because it's COVID proof, it's future proof, it's a way to have passive income, it's a way to expand. So that's really, I guess, where my focus has been. I still do a bunch in the events industry and red carpets and all that stuff, but my attention is very much on the digital marketing space these days. So anybody here today wants to ask questions, whether it's small business or SEO, I'm here to answer them. And then the thing that I liked is you named this podcast, Does SEO Still Work? That was not my title choice, everybody. That was Chris. I think what's fascinating about that is like being the outsider, the small business owner, being like, does this stuff work? Like, I do actually think, and this is going to be a really bold statement, I think almost everything you hear about in SEO, every technique, everything works. But I'm going to say it only works to some capacity. And most importantly, where everybody gets it wrong is nobody's asking, at what point do I do that thing? So I think there's so many times that you're doing something, but it's out of alignment or it's at the wrong time for it to actually work and for you to see results. So you just write it off and say, hey, that doesn't work. But again, outsider perspective, using it for my business, whether it was, link building or content or AI, or, you guys name it, all the stuff you want to talk about. I've been through all of that and it all works. It's just a matter of macro optimizing and kind of getting your ducks in a row, because, simple things drove me crazy, again, as an outsider. Like, for example, if I didn't index a page and I built links to that page, it got me nowhere, right? And right now I know a huge issue for people's indexing because Google's quite frankly broken when it comes to indexing. It's overwhelmed. But yeah, that sequence at which you do things is super important in SEO.
First of all, the reason that I chose that name for this was ironically for SEO purposes, because I thought it would be a cool thing to rank for.
There you go.
Now, what you mentioned about individual testing, saying that everything works, I couldn't agree more. And a frustrating thing I have with the kind of business I have is a lot of people don't get that, and they don't know how to test things in combination. So I'll get people that will buy a drive stack or something like that, try it, doesn't that do nothing else, and say that didn't move my ranking, so this technique doesn't work. And sometimes they blame the whole damn site because nothing's ever their fault. But my point is that it still works if you do it. And I use the analogy of baking a cake, or like baking a cake. Like you could go online and read a recipe, and the first thing it says is you need eggs to make a cake. Somebody cracks an egg and then wonders why they don't have a cake. So like that's kind of what people are doing when they choose to do one thing and then dismiss it as not working because they only did that one thing and they didn't do it at the right time or in combination with the right things. And it pisses me off, to be honest. So I was glad to hear that you're not the first person lately that's been on that agreed with that. Brian Cato was on a while and he said the same kind of thing.
Yeah, and, totally.
It just pisses me off. So I'm glad to hear you say that. I think almost everything works too. It's just a matter of to what degree and in what scenario.
What degree is a great thing to say too, just because like expectations, right? Like I think everybody thinks like everything's going to be like the magic pill. Like I'm going to do this and now I'm going to have $1 million. And it's just like, no, it's a really big competitive world out there. And we're fighting for inches. You know what I mean? We're not fighting for miles with every little task we're doing.
Yeah. I feel like I'm kind of dunking on some of my customers here, and I don't mean to, but it's almost disrespectful to their clients sometimes when they'll buy like a $15 service for their $3,000 a month client, expect to get results from something they don't understand, and get mad at the $15 a month service when it didn't get them results and they look bad in front of their client. So it is what it is. Now, you said that your focus is growing digital brands. Can you be a little more specific?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me right now, I'm just launching e-com stores and trying to like build passive income. Right. And then I have this software startup, Content Maxima, which basically, as I've been doing my research in SEO, I needed a way to reverse engineer topics, right? Everybody talks about like authority, topical authority. So let me ask you, this is a good question for you, actually. What is authority to you, Chris? Like everybody talks about authority, right? Like what is that? Can you explain that to people?
I guess it would just be when you are, if you're talking about in relation to SEO, it's kind of garbage right now, to be honest, because like, if you look in like Forbes is ranking for stuff because they're viewed as an authority that they have no actual authority on. What it should be is people that have and site owners that have an actual like expertise or specialized knowledge on something, and they get preferential ranking for that. The way it's tweaked right now, it seems that they think that, stuff like Forbes and like all these other parasite sites are authorities. So I think that's what's ranking as authority right now. It's not what it should be, though.
Awesome. And I appreciate the human perspective, because what I've been trying to work on myself over the past couple of years is to think more like a robot. I've been hanging out with like Rob, who's a data scientist. And the reason I've been thinking like robots is the robot inevitably, like I love people who say you have to optimize for the user and the robot, and I totally agree with that. But then the question is, again, macro, micro, which one first? Mm-hmm. And you have to optimize for the robot first because the robot delivers the people.
Yeah,
and it's an unfortunate truth, and I think people avoid that. So to me, authority, because everybody is topical authority, this and that. Authority is a definition in a database. And I hate to boil it down to that. But if we're talking SEO, we're talking marketing, all these algorithms that big tech's using, like it is a definition in a database. If you meet that criteria, then you can be in the mix of recommendations, right? So if I'm looking for something and hey, Forbes seems to know a lot about that. So we'll give you a link to Forbes, Yeah. So it's really just, unfortunately, that database definition. But what's nice about knowing that is once we know that, we can attack that. We can go for that, right?
Yeah, I've definitely made the point that it's probably doesn't work the way it should right now. But
yeah,
you have to accept things the way they are and not the way we think they should be, and work on that. Like the only ethical thing to do, other than like doing illegal stuff, the only ethical thing to do is get results, like regardless of how you think it should work. So
that's a good way to look at it. I like that. So, so the reason this software exists, Content Maxima, is I was trying to build myself blueprints, right, of different subject matter and figure out like, okay, if I'm going to build a new site on this, a new store on this, if I'm going to launch a campaign, like how do I break these algorithms, right? Like how do I get there? And do you mind if I present? I got a couple slides.
Yeah. There's a ribbon at the bottom. Just click present and I'll share it to the screen.
And I have a huge screen, so I hope
it should work fine. We're gonna see. It should adjust to whatever your aspect ratio is. You see in the bottom where it's like mute, stop cam, and settings, and present is in the middle.
Yeah, so I can just do. I'm just gonna a tab. If you guys can see, I got some slides up.
Yeah, give me 1 sec. I have to like add it to the stage.
Okay.
And we'll make it full screen. All right, there you go.
So this is just it's a presentation I gave for charity. Marco, my business partner in Content Maxima, has a charity that he supports. And I'm not going to show all the slides in this, but I'm going to pull from a couple of these slides because I think it's just important from an SEO perspective. And again, you can lead this conversation if you want, but I just kind of want to give you my opinion of like what SEO is, right?
And so they can hear from me anytime. So
cool.
The floor is yours.
The floor is mine. So I look at SEO as disambiguation, which is this big, formal word. And I'm not trying to be like, super dorky or anything. To put it in layman terms, you're just trying to remove uncertainty from robots when you're doing SEO. So one of the most helpful things I ever saw was, and I'll show you guys, it's Google's natural language processing, but I want to show you quick how a search engine works. And I think that this will help you with your SEO. So a search engine, if you go to, a search engine, you type in a keyword, let's say Jaguar, it has to guess or assume based on all sorts of things, what you're looking for. So what you've done when you've typed in the word like Jaguar is you've caused ambiguity and you've confused the robot, right? Because, hey, Ed, you looked for a Jaguar. Are you looking for that sports car? Are you looking for the big cat at a zoo, or you're looking for the guitar model or the operating system? Like I haven't given it enough information for it to really understand what I'm talking about. And so I've caused ambiguity. So your whole role as an SEO, or more importantly, as a digital marketer, it should be to remove ambiguity and make things as crystal clear as possible, because that's when like a message converts. That's when you make money, right? You want to get rid of anything that's distracting. So if you look at search engines, they are a graph database. They have these things called edges and nodes store like entity data and their attributes, and the edges are the relationships between those nodes. And not to make it super technical, but when you go look at like the search engine patent, all we're really talking about here are pages and links, right? And so we as SEOs have to change our mindset. We have to stop thinking in like pages and links. Like you need to just retire that and stop thinking that way. You need to start thinking about nodes and edges, and you need to start thinking about entities and their relationships. And so when you do a search, right, and people always ask, are entities like keywords? They are, right? But in this case that I'm going to show you, like if I put in the word bat, there's a creature, and then there's also the bat that you swing, right? A baseball bat. So how is it supposed to know which one I wanted? The only way it might know is from like my search history or my behavior. But if I'm a brand new user for the very first time, it has to give me diversity in my query. It has to show me options to try to figure out what I'm going for. And then it starts to lean on these other terms or words or supporting entities to identify what something is. So, if the word rabies comes up, right, it might be the creature, whereas diamond, or stadium comes up, it's the baseball bat. So these robots are just constantly guessing, and they get it, right more often than not, just because they've been around for so long and they've been trained for so long. But you can easily cause ambiguity when you're not meaning to. Like if I say the baseball player went up to the plate and he had a rabid mouth while at bat, putting the rabies and bat together, even though I'm talking about baseball, like that's where people's problems happen. And it can naturally, organically happen just in spoken word and how we write and how we put stories together. But because robots can't hear our tone and inflection and all that, they have a harder time figuring things out. So you can actually, cause this confusion. So this is what's happening with search engines is they're using natural language processing to break down your text, right? So how the search engine works is it reads your text and it identifies the entities in the text and it catalogs it and it tries to categorize what the things are, what the entities are, and which ones are more important. And it tries to prioritize those and it gives you like a blueprint of what your page is about or your story is about. And search engines are very much not only reading our text, but they're reading our images too. And so that's why, let me make sure you can still see this. We're on Google now. I just put in Google NLP. Can you guys see this okay?
Yes.
All right. So there's this site, cloud.google.com. I don't know if anyone's ever demoed this, or Chris, I'm sure you've maybe seen this at one point in time, but it's free. It's open to the public. You can try Google's natural language processing, right? And you can just put in some text and it breaks down that text, right? So if I go to like Yahoo News and I take some sort of article here and I just take some text and copy it and come over here and paste it in. Now, if there's numbers, Google's going to prioritize the numbers to the top. But if there's, So it used to not do this, but like I said, Google breaks things. They give you things, they take them away, they break things. In the most recent update, numbers are prioritized as the most important entities, no matter what text you put in. But again, this isn't like a web tool. This is a natural language processing tool. So you could put in a memo or an email or a text message or any text, a book, page from a book could go in here. But what's really important about seeing this, and for the people who are trying to get good at SEO, until I saw this, right, I was coming as an outsider into the SEO industry trying to figure out how to sell more carpets on the internet, until I saw this and saw how the machine could read the words and catalog them and categorize them and even go into breaking each sentence down, the sentiment analysis, and say, is this a positive message or a negative message or a neutral message? Like, this was the most eye-opening thing for me and completely changed my path in SEO, because now it was like, forget all the softwares, forget what everyone's saying. Like, if I want a real opinion from Google, like, here it is. I can just run my own text, my own pages, my own landing pages or funnels or whatever you're working on, video scripts through here, and I can see what the machine thinks about it. And then the same thing exists for cloud images, right? So Google can read text and images and identify entities in an image, right? So like it's very good at reading things. I'm just trying to think what would be a good image for us to grab here. I don't know. This is from just a goofy image with a smiley face floating out in the ocean of content. So Google's trying to identify everything in your images as well. So it's reading your text, turning it into entities or a catalog of entities. Then it's looking at your images. It's identifying entities in here, right? So it's 98% confidence, giving a confidence score that there's water in this image, and 97% confident that it's a sky, 98% that there's clouds. When you come down here, it's a little less confident, but like, hey, there's a ball. So maybe it thinks the smiley face is a ball. So it's showing you how it sees your image. It's giving you all the different properties, and it even will tell you like, hey, this is like risky content, or hey, that looks violent, or hey, it's racy, or like any of those things. So until you as a small business owner or an entrepreneur or a marketer, until you see that this is how Google's working and how big tech is working, that they're using entities to basically build our physical world digitally online, so that all of their algorithms and machines can understand stuff. Oh, and then by the way, what about video? Chris, what do you think about video? Is Google reading videos?
I think they can. I don't think it's that effective yet.
Okay, so I think that's a cool analogy, and I think it's probably just a ton of processing power. But what's great about text and images and video? Well, what is a video? It's just text and images. It might be 30 frames per second. So in 1 second, there's 30 pictures, and the text is on those pictures, and it might change and move, but ultimately it could run the same process that I just showed you, the NLP and the Google Vision, and it could watch a video because it could just go frame by frame. So I think that it exists, to your point, Chris. Maybe they're not using it as much, but we know other things like some of the algorithms like Mum and Bert, are getting into content deeper than ever before. So all of this entity talk was what helped me get really good at SEO and helped me rank some e-com stores, and ultimately sent me down a path of studying. I guess I was trying to figure out what, I guess, other NLPs were, right? Being an outsider, I would hear all these SEO terms. You hear stuff all the time and you're like, what's that? I'm the guy who's constantly looking it up. More importantly, I'm the guy who I always have Chat GPT now, right? Like 24/7. And I use it as an educator for myself because I'll have it either read something or, look at a document, or heck, I've had it look at patent stuff before, stuff that I don't understand. Like, it's above my comprehension. It's above my pay grade. I can say to it, like, hey, explain this to me like I'm a fifth grader. And it's those conversations that I've started to have with chat that have like helped me be more innovative, helped me, develop this software that I'll show you guys. And we can run a couple of things for some people to see what authority is according to a graph database, according to what big tech is using. So let me just get down to this other slide here. So the example I like to teach everyone with is BLT, because I think it's an easy concept. So here in the United States, I know we have a lot of international listeners. We have a sandwich that's bacon, lettuce, tomato. It's quite popular. You can get it at diners, restaurants. People eat it for pretty much every meal of the day if they want to. It's a great example to understand entities better, because the primary entity that I'm talking about is the sandwich, the BLT sandwich, right? And then the supporting entities, the parts of it, like bacon, lettuce, tomato, bread, mayo, all that stuff makes up that entity, right? So you have the entity and you have these supporting entities. And sometimes those elements are not, as apparent, right? So I'm going to jump down to this other slide because I'm not going to do all these slides with you guys. But sometimes when we talk about outranking our competitor or trying to have a better page or a better message or a better ad or whatever, it's because we're missing one thing that they're doing, right? That's why people run gap analysis all the time on their competitors and sites, because I could have wrote this beautiful page on BLTs and I just forgot to mention the word knife. And because I forgot to mention the word knife, there's no way I could be the expert at BLT sandwiches, because you need the knife to cut the sandwich. You need the knife to apply the mayonnaise. And I didn't mention that. So when the robot's coming to grade me, right, pulls out its syllabus, no, Ed didn't mention knife. So he can't possibly be the world's leading expert on BLT sandwiches. So he's number 64 now in the SERP. He's not number 2. So I think that there's a lot to be had in the nuances of what makes up subject matter from a data science standpoint and the distance, right? So if authority to me is a definition in a database, then the meaning of a word is just the distance, right? And we go back to that example of like the bat, the creature, and the baseball bat. It's really just, when you say the word rabies, is that closer to the creature or is it closer to the baseball bat? And like, that's how the robot, it's measuring things, right? It's measuring the distance. And that's what contextual relevance is it's a science measurement in a database. So the other interesting thing that started to come up in all this research of language models, natural language processing, is there's different states of things. Like I go back to grade school science class where you're talking about your liquids and solids and gas forms, right? And for like BLT sandwich, I thought it was fascinating that like, I'm doing research about this entity, and sometimes bread comes up, sometimes toast comes up. But bread and toast are on the opposite end of the spectrum of like states, right? They're the same thing, but their attributes have changed. So technically they're something new. They're a new entity. So those little nuances in language, like bread, toast, like those can make massive differences in painting your authority for something, because you can be just shy of authority, right? Like I could have forgotten mayonnaise and toast and knife, and that's the reason I'm not the expert and some other site, is the expert. So when we're doing SEO, it's not just our on page and off page and all that stuff. I want to paint you a picture of like what digital marketing is to me now that I've been at this for a couple of years. So I want to talk about content optimization at a really high level. And so most of you are like down here in the SEO world. You're looking at your on page optimizations and content. You might be looking, and I say might be because not everybody does off page. A lot of people just focus on page and content. And there's a bunch of people who do off page. And when I say off page, mostly I'm talking Google business profiles, but there's other things like social media, tier 1 properties, like your mediums and your bloggers and that sort of stuff. And then there's a few people, it's not as popular. A lot of people don't believe in it. A lot of people don't do it. I think it's just starting to get hip again. Maybe it never was hip. I don't know. It's been around for since 2012, schema, like schema.org, schematic architecture, where you can tie everything together. I think too many people write schema off as like not that important. I don't know how you feel about schema, Chris. Do you use it?
Yeah, not extensively, but yeah.
So I think that's a general consensus. People don't use it a lot, but there's a few things in there that are just like so critically powerful for your brand that I don't think people should get caught up in it. And by the way, I've written schema and I took Rob's generator and I broke it like to the ultimate level. We're talking, I've put like 7,000, 8,000 lines of schema on a page, like 2 megabytes worth of code just to see what would happen. And like, I'm that guy. I'm always flipping every last rock or really breaking things. In fact, Rob and Marco put me on my own server for Schema Tech because I kept breaking it. But I wanted to see how far you could push schema but still be relevant. Like I wasn't stuffing to stuff, I was stuffing everything relevant, but I just wanted to see, because there's really no limit to it, right? Because you can nest nodes into each other and it's this infinite language preferred by the search engines. But the moral of the story, to keep this simple to people and not too technical, is that schema allows you to tie together your assets online. So you can very easily with schema say, hey, this is my business, this is where we're located, these are my store hours, and then you can claim your digital assets. This is my Facebook page. This is my Instagram account. And you'll see people like clients where their Instagram account is outranking their website when you first get it as an SEO, right? And it's like, well, why is that happening? Well, Instagram is more authoritative about the brand than the brand themselves. And it has things mixed up. So like schema can help you make that flip, because you can say to Google, hey, this is my website, this is my Instagram account. So you're claiming it, putting it in your footprint. So schema ties all of those properties together, your Google business profile, your social accounts, your website, like any citations you have, or like maybe your Chamber of Commerce listing or whatever, right? Trade show associations that you belong to, all that kind of stuff. And then all of this information, text, images, video, all the stuff we were just talking about, it ultimately gets crunched by natural language processing. So before any algorithm can be applied, the robots first have to understand what you're talking about. So if we talk about SEO, if we talk about social media, if we talk about pay-per-click, anything that's using an algorithm, AI, voice, machine learning, any of this stuff, they're all heavily reliant on natural language processing. They have all these other algorithms and different analysis types that they're using, and they're never going to tell any of us how they use it, what they use it, how they weigh it, right? Like we don't get to see their code, but we can take a really good guess that since they're all using NLP, if we could target the NLP and optimize for that stuff, we could do a lot of damage, in a good way. So I started hearing these things in like Facebook groups, right? People had mentioned NLP. I had to go learn about that. People would talk about LSI keywords. Like that was a huge buzzword thing for years. And I was like, what does it even mean, right? I'm the red carpet guy, remember? I'm not paying attention to any of this stuff. Then other people talk about engrams and semantic doubles and triples and microsemantics and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, I was like, what are they even talking about? And so I started doing all my research of literally asking AI and having hours and hours of conversations like, what is this? How does it relate to that? Explain it to me like I'm a fifth grader, it really just hours and hours of conversations. And what I ultimately came up with is I found that there are thousands of language analysis types and models, right? So NLP, natural language processing, is just one. And I was, trying to figure out if NLP is so powerful, if it reads text and they even have images and entity identification happening, like what's another NLP? And what I came up with was a whole list, which I can share with you guys, that ultimately got put into software. But here's what I want to show you, that everybody in SEO is talking about semantics. You usually hear people talk about semantic SEO. And I think they're like one hop or two hops down on the totem pole of what like truly matters. So you have linguistics, which is the study of language and the structure of language. You have computational linguistics, which is basically the computer and the human talking. It's that interface, right? It's the wire, it's the keyboard, right? That allows me to tell the computer what I'm thinking and the computer to spit it back to me. It's a interface between machines or robots and human beings. And so that's really where I started like macro optimizing, because I think it's the highest level you can get to. Because again, when we look here, all of the brand data that we've built with our website and our Google business profile and social and the data we put into schema, and it all becomes our brand data online. And then that has to be processed. And then once it's processed, things like Facebook, if I make a post, it can process my brand, process my message of the post, decide, hey, that Ed guy didn't really post anything interesting today. We're going to make sure 3 people see it and not 30,000. So, NLP is kind of this nice base before algorithms are applied, as far as I'm concerned, and from my research. So I found the 63 types of language analysis. That what's cool about it is we can, and I'll show you some reports from the software, but we can take a subject matter, we can run it through all these different processes, and we can find its true definition. So then if I'm trying to launch a website or a bunch of blogs or a marketing campaign or any type of initiative, any type of content whatsoever, I have a blueprint generated for me, and it's generated in a way that it's looking at itself as a database. It's counting the distance. What's one hop away from what I'm talking about? Because if I cover those things that are one hop away, then I will meet that authority or that definition that's sitting in a database for something, if that makes sense. So I call all of this stuff like trigger words, because we're triggering the robot. It's very happy when it gets certain words because it knows exactly what you're talking about. So if we could just optimize to exactly what we're talking about, then we're never confused. We are not lacking in impressions or conversions or any of that type of stuff. So I'd like to show now, and Chris, you can stop me if you need to. I'd like to show the software report, and if somebody would be so nice to volunteer, I could even run one. But let me open a report first. So first, I have to figure out. I might have to share a different window. Let's see. I'm gonna stop share. And we're gonna share again. All right, so it's going to be the whole screen. I don't know if it'll be too big for everybody to see.
It's showing both screens.
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah, I don't know how well it'll work. Yeah, go for it.
So I'll try to zoom in too, just God forbid. So I took, let me launch software here. So we have this software, Content Maxima. It has 3 parts. The first one is we have an analysis module, which allows you to put in like a primary keyword or concept or idea. And it takes that concept and it breaks it down at a data science level. And it finds the other words or concepts or supporting entities that make up that idea that are just one hop away. And it makes a report of those. So what I ran, and I'll show you what it looks like. I said BLT sandwich because that's my example.
It's pretty hard to see. I don't know if you could just go to one screen or what.
Yeah, let me stop sharing. I tried to fix this before I came on, but I think it's only Zoom that lets you do partial screen share. So let me present. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open the scan because we don't need to see. All right, let's do this. Share screen. Okay.
Okay. You can see it a little better.
I'll zoom in so it's bigger for people.
Okay, cool.
Much better, right?
Yep.
All right. So in the software, I had just said, hey, I want you to break down the concept of BLT sandwich for me. And I want you to find the most important supporting elements or parts of that. I asked for 25 of those things. The reason I asked for 25 and 5 is there's something special about the math. According to, there's an SEO named Bruce Clay who wrote about silo structure on websites. You can read his article. It's a really good article. But if you do things in fives, you can help a robot understand better. So it's the minimum suggested number of data points or articles or whatever you need to define what you're talking about. It needs those 5 points. So to me, I said, okay, if I really want to dominate a niche or something like BLT sandwich, I need 25. I need 5 sets of 5 because that would be the next way to break the math. If I'm trying to break 5, well, 5 fives will break it, if that makes sense. So anyways, I tell the software the idea I'm looking for. It breaks it down into the most important nodes or elements that are relevant to that particular primary entity. And then it takes that idea and breaks it down further. So if I was launching a website to become the authority on BLT sandwich, and my website, the primary idea is this BLT sandwich, and maybe I have a page all about BLT sandwiches. On that page, you would want to see these terms, right? Or talk about these terms, and maybe not all of them, but most of them, because at some point in that niche, in that SERP, there's somebody else talking about a BLT sandwich and they're mentioning many of these things. How many of them, we would use other softwares to figure it out. But we have now the blueprint. Like I said, this isn't just search engine based. This is getting AI to think like a graph database and to pull elements that are just the next hop away. So if I wanted to be the authority on BLT sandwich, I would need to write about American cuisine. Now, if I'm going quick and easy, I might just throw that on my BLT sandwich page. If I'm really trying to dominate, let's say at a national, international level, I might have to have a whole section or a whole page dedicated to American cuisine, right? And then you'd say, well, what do I do in that American cuisine page? Because American cuisine is going to support the idea of the BLT sandwich. But how do I support American cuisine? Well, I write about apple pie, barbecue, fried chicken, hamburgers, and hot dogs.
It says a lot about our health in America that those are the choices.
Isn't that terrifying, right? Like I know you like the whole health stuff, and you have what's your group again? Neuro?
Yeah, Niraj.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. There's what most Americans are eating. That's what American cuisine is defined at. So what's nice about these blueprints is, again, I said 5 and 25. You could, go more, but what's great too is once you have started to figure out, again, whether it's a sitemap or a campaign or blog articles or whatever, you could always take one of these elements and put it back in to the software, and we could run bacon and we could see what makes up bacon. And then when it runs that list, it would tell us, what's going on. Now, here's funny too, AI, right? You can have drifting things, drifting intelligence. So if I ever get to where Francis Bacon and Kevin Bacon are coming up about bacon, I can, when I go rerun this, because this is obviously not thinking correctly, I could say, hey, I'm talking about the food, right? So you can keep putting keywords back into this, and you could keep breaking out those concepts. And then we have this other module that's more of like I guess I'll call it like a surgeon, right? Like a brain surgeon. And we call it a matrix. And those 63 types of language analysis that I told you. And let me, I guess I have to stop and reshare another window. Be a little bit of juggling around, unfortunately. I'm sorry, everybody. All right. Let me know if you can see.
Yep.
Okay.
You're gonna need to zoom in though.
Yeah. Good call. So this particular report output from the software is it's those 63 language models or analysis types that have been run on my primary keyword of BLT sandwich. And it's pulled the most important or critical entities that make up, you know, the concept in that way. And what's interesting about this is we're basically taking a loaf of bread and we're cutting it in every possible way. And each one of these columns, I have them organized. The first 10 prioritized for SEO, but this is far beyond SEO because we know some of these language analysis types and systems are being used by Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and X and all these platforms, TikTok, right? We just don't know for sure how they're prioritizing them and which ones are better than others. So I have, for our customer base, I have a file that basically breaks down each one of these columns and describes what the language model does, how some of the social media platforms might use it. And it gets quite technical, but I don't like to get technical on people. I want to make their life easy. So essentially what we've done is when you put in your keyword, it runs these 63 different types of analysis on that word, and it breaks it down into a definition. And so you'll see here what comes up the most frequent, what comes up the most number of times. And when you see we have a tie for first place, when you see that bacon, bread, lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise all come up across every language analysis type and everything that we've run, we know that from a data science perspective, this is the definition that all machines using natural language processing would be looking for in order to rank something or to push something viral or to get it into the index or to, get it in front of your audience. These words, right, make up a BLT sandwich.
They're asking you to zoom again.
Zoom in. Yeah, you got it. So you'll see it's just the term and then the number of times that that term came up across all of those different language analysis types that the software ran. So bacon obviously comes up more than anything. It's the most important thing, right? But then there's interesting things that I was thinking about. Like, let's go back to toast, right? So this is the first time I'm seeing toast or toasted. So toasted bread is the 17th most important or critical word, entity, concept, item to mention if you would try to become the authority on BLT sandwiches, right? So, and there's things in here that I would have never thought of. Like, even though I'm an American living in the United States, living in New York, is eating a million BLT sandwiches, I don't think in my mind as a marketer, I would have even, like, if somebody came to me and said, Ed, like, make a BLT sandwich website, I don't know that I would have been like, all right, we're going to have an American cuisine section. Like, it was probably the last thing that I would have considered. Like, I just wouldn't have even thought about it. I'd be more focused on the sandwich and the bread and cutting it and presentation and all these other things. So I think what's super interesting is that we all have like biases, right? Like geographically where we work or in a specific niche within an industry, right? You may be in a really small sector of a much bigger industry and you think that it should be one way, but it's actually a completely different way. So I think that getting a machine to break down your topic is the most valuable thing that you can do because there's no more guessing. It's no longer what matters for ranking, what matters for, any type of marketing. So to make a long story short, what I tell people to do is this is your trigger word list. These are the words that you should be using in your marketing. Now, it's pulled 166 of them in this report. I'm not going to use everything in here because some of that stuff down at the bottom isn't occurring very often. Butter, Portugal, like not very important. Pig farm. Whereas up here, bacon's super important and all this is super important. So I would be looking for things that show up in 10 or more language models right? Because if I know it's showing up in 10 or more language models, then I know what a robot thinks of the subject matter. And then when I go do my marketing, when I go do my post for Facebook or Instagram, or if I write a blog or whatever, I know that these are the words that the robot's looking for, because they're the trigger words of the natural language processing, so that the robot goes, oh, that Ed guy, he's talking about a BLT sandwich. So it's really having that treasure map. And there's all these amazing topical authority tools out there that'll generate you sitemaps, and they'll generate you everything off of the live SERP. But I'm just no longer interested in just the search engine result page. I'm interested, when I'm taking a brand to market or trying to grow my business, like, I need it to grow on everything. I need it to grow on Facebook and Pinterest, and it needs to be more than just blogs, and it needs to be more than just SEO. And so I would hope that with all the information I've given you so far today, that you guys start to think about, like, first of all, claiming all your assets and schema, building your brand footprint online. But when you start to build that footprint, you really need to understand how machines are thinking about it, because those machines ultimately apply the algorithm, which then ultimately allows you to market with it. So let me stop share one more time, Chris. And I'm going to show you the third module of the software, which, again, contentmaxima.com. I know you'll plug that for us. You have a URL that you're going to put up, right?
Yep, it's superstarseo.com/maxima. And once you get done with the demo, we'll take a look at the site itself.
Sweet. So I'm going to pull up another. Give me 1 second, Chris.
Sure.
Let's see.
While he's doing that, can everybody just let us know if you have any questions, or just let him know how you're enjoying this so far, so we know that. I don't really know what the end of that sentence was going to be, but just let us know how you're enjoying this so far. And if you have any questions for Ed, let us know that too, and we'll make sure we get to those in just a few minutes. But this has been very informative so far. And cool. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm kind of in the mood for a BLT now. I'm not going to lie. I'm getting a little hungry over here. So
we have the Grubhub one after this talk, right?
Yeah, right. So yeah, just let us know if there's any questions. I'm sure there's some things there, but Premium Websites Inc. says head is spinning. Yeah, there's a lot, but the good thing is wherever you're watching this, looks like you're on YouTube, you can go back and watch it again. So it'll be there forever, more or less, and as well as on Facebook and all the other platforms. So are you ready?
Yeah, I got a folder up of the third module of our software, which basically writes content for you. Okay. So what I wanted to show you guys, and again, it's tough with the current screen situation, but
actually we can see that pretty well.
Okay. So all that stuff that was in the blueprint, right? American cuisine, the software has written an article about American cuisine, and then I've instructed it to give me social posts to promote that article. So then it's written Facebook posts, it's written Google business posts, because those were what I selected. And again, I will have to show you on the software in a different window, which we can. But you get this map. And this is a great place to start a brand, start a campaign, give to a marketing assistant, give to an agency, give to a partner, sell as a content strategy. There's a million and one ways you can use this. But I got lazy as I've been a marketer for a long period of time. I got tired of writing all my own posts. And now with AI, I can feed it a bunch of information and really have it help me, generate a huge plan. And what's great is every single platform that you select through the software, and again, I have to go back and show you this, and I'm sorry it's in pieces, but basically let's see here. We have BLT sandwich here. So it gave us a title. It gave us a complete outline. So all of that is in here, right? Then it's given us the article itself. It's written, and it's given us Google business profile posts that it's written. So what I hope's exciting about seeing this, some of you are going like, oh my God, I don't know how I would even use this. Well, the point of this was being a lazier marketer and trying to do omni-channel marketing, trying to do bulk content, trying to keep up with the big guys that are out there. I needed a way as the little guy to say, hey, like I need to launch a campaign that allows me when I write my articles for my website to push them out on all the different profile or all the different social media profiles and Medium and Tumblr and WordPress and all these different places. And I just don't have the capacity and resources to do that. So let me stop sharing for a second too. And we'll go to the website. And yeah, I'm happy to take SEO questions too. I know I'm demoing heavy at this point, but obviously
Edward Gelb asks, what would happen if you doubled the nodes from 25 to 50? Is that law of diminishing returns?
I don't think so, because I think like if you have a really competitive or big subject matter that you're after, right? Maybe you're doing something like pharmaceutical or something, right? That's
Right.
really tough. You have $1 billion Pfizer that you're trying to go after. Like you're going to need a content strategy that is massive. It can't be 25 pages. Like we're not taking down Pfizer with 25 pages. Like you're going to need, tens of thousands of articles to even try to compete, let alone get any traction against somebody that large. So I think it's relative to your goal. I think you can
I know what it's like
more, but then what's realistic, right?
I know what it's like to compete SEO wise with a national brand like that. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing myself. So,
oh yeah, I didn't even think about that, but totally right. I assume, I don't know this, but Fiverr would be a big competitor. Upwork would be a big competitor. Those types
not
of
like not like the business to business, but as far as SEO, it kind of is.
For sure, because people are looking for a freelancer or a gig or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Whenever you're ready though. So I'll just keep going. Jordan says, since the helpful content update, tighter focus pages appear to be working better. Yeah, that's a good point too. All right. So we'll add this to the stage. All right. We got the site on there. And anybody that wants to go to this, go to superstarseo.com/maxima, because that way you get a chance to give me money, which is really what's important here. So
that is important. I think it's important because you bring a lot to the community of SEO. And I think that it's a really simple way for people to support you. So I don't think it's cheesy or contrived at all. So
no, I like to be honest about it though.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I also don't promote stuff just to promote stuff either. So
perfect. So I'm just going to scroll down. Basically, I'm on Content Maxima. I'm under solutions analysis because we have 3 different modules, right? So I just want to show you again, since you didn't get to see because of the screen sharing, and I can zoom in a little bit if I have to here. It's a desktop application that runs on Windows. Eventually, we'll have it up in the cloud. People ask us, why isn't it in the cloud now? Well, we're not software guys. We're digital marketers. We're learning software. We've just built a whole system to even manage your accounts and serial numbers and licensing. And we're learning like crazy doing this, right? We're doing all sorts of new stuff. So for now, it's just a simple desktop app. Again, it runs on Python and it runs with an OpenAI API key. So you'll have to have that, right? Because OpenAI powers, I guess the brain behind it. And on the analysis, you'll, again, any keyword, any concept that you're trying to build a blueprint, a content strategy for, you'll just input that word and then you ask it how many connected ideas, how many nodes, if I'm getting technical, do you want about this main idea? And then of those, how many do you want of each one of those, right? So it's just giving you a tree or tiered concept. And then it gives you that Excel output. And you have that strategy. And what's awesome about that strategy, again, is this is something you could just go out and sell and turn over. I'm sure maybe some folks on Legit will put up gigs and be happy to sell strategies to people. It's something that you can take into any boardroom, and I don't care who the experts are like on the subject matter. It's eye-opening data to how they should be structuring themselves online, right? It's a really good holistic topical authority. It's not just an SEO topical authority, and it's targeting any algorithm using natural language processing, which is the secret. So people who are not technical just understand like all of big tech, whether they're a search engine or a social platform or whatever, if it's AI, right? If it's voice search, all of them are using these processes to figure out what you're talking about. I mean, when I ask Siri for something, like she has to know what I'm talking about or she can't deliver a result. So
Which is the
AI
usual
is just
result.
that next generation of it. You're saying something, Chris? Sorry.
I just said, which is the usual result with Siri. I don't find it very reliable.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, when I'm trying to rank for something too, like everybody's concerned about the search engine result page, which is great, but like again, that's just one little silo of the world. It's one slice of the world. Like when I'm trying to build a brand, I need that foundation to be unshakable across everything. So this gives you that blueprint. Again, you resell it, you use it, you tier it, right? I mean, you could have beautiful tiered topical authority blueprints for any of your clients. I don't care whether you're doing all white hat content or you're doing, you know, mass automated PBN, like it works the same for everybody. So this is again what the software looks like on your computer. And I'm just doing this so that I can show you other screenshots. So the analysis module gives you that blueprint. By the way, there's nice videos, obviously, you can watch that explain how these things work more in depth. I understand some of you said, oh, this is really technical. And I hate to be that way, but like it is a technical thing, but I've tried to make the software and the use of it as easy as just like putting in a word and clicking a button, which is what this particular module does. The matrix module, which was all of those different columns, which I'm going to do. This was another URL I gave you earlier, Chris. We're going to do a webinar on Friday because we know there's going to be questions with this stuff. It's a new way of optimizing content. It's never been done before. There's a big movement here, and there's a bigger conversation to have, and it all can't happen, you know, in just one conversation, one podcast. So on this particular Friday, we're going to have a follow-up. And again, I gave you that URL if we can share that at some point. No rush, but I will be happy to take further questions to show more. And I'm going to boot up a laptop, I think, for that one, because I'm tired of this monster monitor issue that I have, which I thought I solved today, like I said, but I didn't. So the matrix module is
just
basically
1 second. Petros, he keeps asking for a demo. If you just go back to the beginning, he did a demo. So
yeah, that's true too. So yeah, you just put in the word. It takes whatever words you put in and it spits it out in over 60 different language analysis types. So we're using different models to break down whatever your subject matter is and look at it at every possible perspective that you could under the sun, and then give you that. And what's great about that document is that it has ideas in it, right? Like it has killer good content ideas. So you don't have to take it as a verbatim. So the first one I would take more as a verbatim strategy, an analysis report. A matrix report is just a board of ideas, right? It's literally columns of highly relevant, contextually relevant ideas, you know, on your subject matter. And that second tab, so if he goes back and he looks, there's that second tab where I put in what I call trigger words, which is again just a list of words that come up the most, you know, the most frequently in those analysis types. Those are the words that when you go out to do your marketing, and again, I don't care if you're doing SEO or Facebook or whatever, TikTok, it doesn't matter. If you're doing anything online that is going to have robots reviewing it, then those are the words that you want to be using in your marketing, because it tells the machine exactly what you're talking about. The machine knows. And if the machine knows, then you're qualified. Then you can be recommended. You can be shown, you know, there's a million good things that can happen to you once the machine understands. So we have to amplify your reach through, I guess, optimizing the machine first and then capturing the human beings. So then the final, and I might have to show this in a different way. We'll see if the picture. Let me do this, Chris. Let me stop share and open the software again. Sorry. And I might have to do this twice, Chris. So let's see. I just did it.
Before we do that, somebody asked if you need a VPN for this.
No, because we're using OpenAI API.
Right.
So you do not need a VPN. When you would need a VPN is if you were using this in a country where ChatGPT is banned, then you would need a VPN for that. But there's no other use case for it.
Okay. Another question was, how did you confirm that ChatGPT understood all those different language analysis types?
I mean, a ton of research, a ton of conversations, a ton of, for the record, I built this entire, I guess, plethora of language models. I built that all in Excel. It was actually Brian Cato, who was just recently on here, who taught me that I could get ChatGPT into Excel. And once I understood that little detail, my mind was blown, because it was the first time I realized where I'm not a developer, right? I'm not a programmer. I'm not, you know, I'm not super dorky. I'm a little dorky. I could build my own machines in Excel. So I could basically, you didn't tell me these blinds are so bad too. I can shut that.
It wasn't like that in the beginning.
Yeah. So what was I saying? I just lost my train of thought here.
You were explaining how you got it to integrate with Excel from something Brian.
Oh, right. So once you realize that you can put ChatGPT in Excel, you can experiment and build what I would call like little machines, right? Like I have a little machine I built in Excel that every time I want to make a tweet, it will go out, research some hashtags for me, generate me some titles, read some text that I gave it, and summarize that text into a abbreviated, tweet, right? Because you only get so many characters. So I've built these little machines. So that's what it was each one of these language models. It was first asking, and the reason I showed you the Google NLP and the Google Vision is that's where I was starting with like entity research and language research. And then it was just, again, asking chat, okay, well, how many more models are there? What are they? Why would they be used? Would Facebook use this? Would they not? So is there a way to 100% be accurate that, every model ChatGPT fully understands it? Like, no, because I don't understand. We know its brain has read 15% of the internet, right? So it's got about 60 billion pages behind it, and it's learning and growing every day. AI is constantly shifting, constantly changing, and that's something that we'll face. But what I can tell you from me being the researcher of all of this, it was first identifying what language analysis types even exist, right? Why do they exist? What are they used for? How would they be used? How might one of these platforms use it? And then it was figuring out, okay, if we were to run this particular analysis type, like what are the steps? What has to happen in order for you to get something out of this that's useful, right? Because there's always the context of everything of, if I run this one type of language analysis, like why am I doing it? Like, why would I do that for Facebook? And there's things that matter more across language. Like a good example, I was just mentioning X or Twitter, right? Like I think the timeliness on that platform matters more than other platforms, right? If I pin something on Pinterest, I'm not worried if I pinned it today or 3 weeks ago and it's getting engagement. Whereas if there's an earthquake happening right now and I put out on X, like I'm shaking, my office is rumbling, like help me. The timing aspect matters, because that's just the platform. It's how it delivers. It's how people interact in that particular case. So it's a lot of guess for sure. But I think once you give it a shot, and you'll see there's a lot of substance behind it, because each one of these models, and again, I'll show more some other time, we just can't go this deep, but the combination of all of these things is where magical stuff happens, right? Just because of what I talked about, certain platforms care about certain things more than other platforms. And so when we're looking at like an optimization standpoint of, what are the language models that they might be running, or analysis types that they might be using to decide if your post should go viral, or if more people should see what you had to say. Something somewhere has to first understand before they can apply an algorithm, if that makes sense. So we're guessing as to what the algorithm's looking for, using data science. Hopefully that answers your question.
Wonderful.
So I'm going to stop share because I have to get to one other window. Here, this is what I wanted to show you guys. All right. So over here on the right-hand side, these are the current platforms that we have the software set up to generate content on. So essentially you can come in and you can put in whatever subject matter you want. You can put in the number of related terms that you are looking for. You can put in the number of terms for each of those terms that you're looking for. And you could tell it how many posts you need it to make. So, and we're limiting people 1 to 7, because what you have to realize is what happens is this subject matter, BLT sandwich, is broken down, right? We write an article about this. Then it's going to write articles on the 5 most important things that make up a BLT. So your bread, your mayonnaise, your tomato, your lettuce, your bacon, right? And once it's done writing the titles, creating the outlines, writing that article, then what it's asking the software to do is say, hey, give me 5 social media posts for each article. Give me 5 Google business profile posts for each article. Give me 5 for Instagram. So it's running through that whole list. So essentially, what learning ChatGPT in Sheets, Google Sheets or Excel did for me from Brian Cato was that opened my eyes. I could build machines that could do bulk prompting, bulk processing, and could help me deploy brands faster, right? Like I want to be the content strategist, or really I don't really want to be a content strategist, but I want to be able to launch things, and I need them to work and be found and be in great alignment for the world to stumble upon it as fast as possible, right? I want to make more money, I want to grow more businesses, I want to hire more team members, all that kind of stuff. So it was just being able, as a non-developer, non-programmer, to daisy chain all this research together into an easy to use interface, thanks to Rob, because he's the one who developed this desktop app for us, and just click a button, right? And then you walk away. Now, something I need you to think about is the amount of, I guess, writing and researching and talking that this particular software is doing over the open API, API key is immense. So it takes a lot of time. Like if you were going to go write 26 articles right now, and then for each one of those articles, you were going to write promotional posts, 5 of them, 5 for Facebook, 5 for Instagram, 5 for, like, how long would that take you? Like, I think 26 articles would take you a ridiculously long amount of time. I don't know many people who are doing that in a month for one particular client. There's plenty of people that do, right? But if you're, a lot of the SEOs are doing small business and GBPs and stuff, they're not posting 26 articles a month. There's no way. They couldn't possibly do it. They couldn't possibly write all of the promotional, messaging to go with it. So again, this is for, it's not only for the little guy, because the big guys can use this too to get ahead, but this is your chance to stand with those enormous megacorps and not only get yourself like a great blueprint to start with, but then truly understand the subject matter better than anybody else. And then if you want to, write it all for yourself. I think the thing that's big right now in the world of SEO is AI content, right? And writing your content at scale and doing mass production of it. And no 2 people that I've ever talked to, I know a lot of agency owners, I know a lot of experts that are out there, but nobody's doing their stuff the same way. I can't say to Joe and then to Mark, hey, you guys both go use this software and then do this step and then do that step. Like, I've never found a writing tech stack or a writing process or an SOP that was being universally used. Like, I don't see, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, do you know anybody? Have you met people that are doing the exact same thing?
Not really.
Yeah. So I think that's the tough part too, is like, a lot of these writers and optimizers and softwares that are out there are, how you use it is going to be different in your stack than how I use it. And that's an okay thing. And I think that's great. Like when we all get together and we do webinars and we share our strategies and we show people different perspective, right? Like that's why I've joined masterminds and I've gone to trade shows and conferences, is literally just to get into somebody else's shoes for a little while to see what they're doing and can it help me out? So, again, I built this tool for myself. I never even was going to go public with this. Just being in Rob and Marco's mastermind, it was, something that just naturally came up. I was making it for myself, right? I was trying to do better entity-based SEO and digital marketing for myself. And I had an immense number of conversations with AI and did a ton of research on, computational linguistics and all these things that are like natural language processing that big tech is using to then apply their algorithms to whatever you feed it. So it's been over a year coming in the making. I've spent most of my time, focused here. But I have, as Chris mentioned early on in this episode, I have done a ton of other SEO stuff, from link building to schema, like I said, to anything else. But to me, I think ultimately, more so now than ever, your position in the world is what matters. It doesn't matter what content you're doing, but your position is what matters. Because if you're out of alignment, you're out of the neighborhood of where the money is, like, you struggle. And, you SEOs, I know, especially, like, it stinks right now with Google, especially from an indexing perspective. Google's crawled 10 trillion documents and pages. In their visible index, there's 400 billion pages, which sounds like a lot. That sounds huge. But when you do the math, that means they're ignoring 96% of the content that's out there. And we all need a way to get ahead, right? And I don't care what like technical level you're at, whether it's SEO or blogging or, social media posting or whatever, but we all need a way to get ahead, because we're being pushed down. And again, think about that. Like, you're fighting for 4% chance of being included in Google's index. And then you want to talk about being in the top 100 or the top 10, right? Or being number one on Google. I mean, your odds are horrible, right? It's exceptionally hard. And I think that's where people get frustrated and they'll try anything, they'll pay anything and get burned and then get even more frustrated. It's a vicious cycle. It's a massive process to build a brand online right now. But I think what's cool is, for the first time, because of AI, we have an opportunity. Individual guys like me and you, and small guys that don't have huge teams and millions of dollars, like, we have the opportunity to do it all right now with tools, and we should go crazy while we can and get as much market share as we can. So if you're looking for a way to plan out your sites or your client sites, you're looking for a way to make money, become a strategist. That's why we built the software. We want you to be able to be the best content strategist possible, because we're not like everybody else in their topical maps and going off of search engine data alone. We're going after that definition that's sitting in these databases and what the machine understands the concept as. So
can you show us the pricing page and that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I can show you a pricing page. Or you can just follow Chris's link and see the price. That's what you should do.
Yeah, but I show it so they can kind of see the different packages and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So share screen.
Let me ask if it runs on credits apart from monthly. We'll cover that in just a second, what the pricing is like.
Yeah. So we have
somebody also, I assume you have like somebody else had a support question. I assume
sure.
use the contact on the site, right?
I can answer that one really quick. Right now, if you go to our training page, I'm going to start putting up a lot more videos, but there's videos up here now. So this is where all the training is going to be at the moment. There is a installation instruction video right here. It's the very first one. The second one, I talk about OpenAI API limits, because you need that OpenAI API key. So this covers that and covers getting you set up with OpenAI. And then it goes into each of the modules. So yes, just go to the training link at the top. And there are videos there to help you and walk through all of that. If you need any further help, obviously just go to contact and put in a support ticket. But watch all those videos first. They'll be very, very helpful for you. So right now, here's the pricing page. Again, we have 3 modules. We have just the analyze, which will build you the blueprints, right? Content strategies is the way to look at that. We have the optimize, the middle tier, which is that matrix report. You have the ability to take any subject matter, run a 63 language analysis process on that subject matter and to get as close to a true definition as physically possible, not owning and having access to every big tech and search engines algorithms, right? Like I wish I had a main line into like Facebook's, brain or Google's brain, but we don't. So we just have to use the best that we can. But this particular the matrix module or these matrix reports that you get with the optimized level, I personally think it's the most powerful thing in digital marketing right now, because I don't care what platform somebody's on. If they're going to try to rank for a specific keyword or location or concept or whatever, they have to speak to the robot. And every platform's different. You guys know it's a headache. It's hard to rank on Google and then also go be an expert at Facebook ads. And oh, by the way, be viral on Pinterest. Like, you can't do it all. That's the tough part. So this is the unfair advantage of giving you a list of trigger words or terms that you can then use in any type of marketing. I don't care if you're writing articles or posts or memos or email drip sequences. It doesn't matter, because it's basically the surgical dissection of any word or concept or theme. So this middle module enables you to do, I want you guys to understand, it stacks. I tried to show in colors, right? The first one, you get unlimited reports for strategy, the pivot table that I showed you in Excel that allows you to build out a site blueprint or a campaign blueprint. So you get unlimited of those. If you have this module, you get unlimited analysis reports and unlimited matrix reports. And if you go the whole way, you're going to get the ability to generate all of that content that we were showing. So it'll organize and generate all sorts of articles, Facebook posts, etc. for you. And then everything to come, because we have a lot of aspirations with this software. But I think the most exciting part of this is the new research that AI has allowed us to do in the world of optimization. Because again, I think most people are down in their on-page or off-page SEO. I painted that bigger picture showing you social, on-page, off-page schema, natural language processing, and then algorithms. Like, I'm trying to zoom you out and help you overall be more holistic in your optimization. So hopefully I've explained those 3 modules well enough. If not, go to the individual pages, see solutions, and I have they're pretty long videos each. I think they're like 20, 30, 40 minutes. Let me see how long this one is. This one's 25 minutes. So I'm covering in depth. I'm showing the software. I'm running reports. I'm showing you what those reports look like. So all of that information is here for you to make the best decision for you and to invest in what makes sense to you guys. And then obviously, since we are a new software, I'm in full transparency. We have an MVP. It runs, it works great. We have a lot of great feedback from initial users. We are going to keep expanding and building this out. And again, I'm not going to put timelines or dates, but my promise is we are going to eventually move it to the cloud. We're just desktop now. I'll remind you, desktop, Windows, because it's Python and OpenAI. I keep saying that because I know people ask. But we will get it up into the cloud eventually, so it works on any device, works for Mac, all of that sort of stuff. But it's just a work in process, and we're figuring all that stuff out for you guys so that you can do that. And then based on your feedback over the course of time, if there's a social platform that gets more popular or new that comes out, right? We can add in those types of features along the way. Where I don't think you're going to see much of a change ever is going to be in these first 2 modules, because they're really solid. If you need a strategy, I want you to be able to be a content strategy expert with the click of a button. Or if you need to, I don't know, be the North Star and have a deciding decision for what someone should be going after, use the data to make every marketing and advertising decision for you, your customers. So these 2 modules will not change all that much. I think the content one over time will, because we're going to have people ask for different things, and we're going to want to try different things, and it's going to be kind of an ongoing. So that's my expression to you. But hopefully it's been helpful. And again, I want to, outside of just software pitch you, like, if you have SEO questions or optimization questions or ecom questions or whatever, like by all means, before Chris and I cut this off, please ask. Don't be afraid. And if I've intimidated you or confused you at all, please ask. I'm not going to bite your head off for any question.
So somebody says, is it PC or do Apple users get some love? You said it's just PC, right?
It's just PC right now.
Okay. The solution to that, Jordan, is to go buy a grown-up's computer, and then you'll be able to use it.
Got it. There you go,
I'm not a Mac fan.
Yeah, well, I think he gets the abuse other places too, if it's the same Jordan I know.
Somebody else says, can the $27 version write articles? No, that's the maximized version, is the actually generate content.
Yep.
Yeah, and if anybody else has any other questions, let us know. But otherwise, we're going to probably wrap up in the next couple minutes, because that was a very in-depth presentation. And I know people's heads are spinning, and I don't want to confuse them too much. That the webinar link you gave me was the actual join link. Is there like a register thing?
It's a good question. I think that was the link I was given from Marco. Let me ping him.
I mean, it'll work. They just have, it doesn't like tell you, it doesn't have like the, sign up or whatever. It just says.
Got you. So let me reiterate that then. So since it's a live Zoom link, and that's what it is, Friday, so that's the 21st of June at noon, we're going to run it noon Eastern.
Wonderful. All right. And we'll let this go another 3 or 4 minutes if there's any questions for Ed or myself. And then we will wrap up. Instagram has already shut off because they only let you go for an hour because it's a garbage platform for live stream.
Oh, boy.
But Premium Website Inc. says, thanks for all the information. This has been eye-opening. Petras says, give us limit 5 articles. Your subscription will increase. When people love, they stick to you. Yes, but it also costs money to develop these things. So we have to make packages in the way that we make money. And by we, I mean anyone that runs software. I have no involvement with this software as far as making it, but I do make software and I know why they have to do those things. I have the number of people that want to sign up for my software for a free trial just so they can like get a few uses out of it. Kind of irks me sometimes, to be perfectly honest. So I don't. And I didn't go through all this trouble to give something away for free, basically.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I will say this too. At some point, sure, might we do a free trial? Yes, I'm not promising when or how or what the terms are or anything like that. But the other thing that you need to know with pricing, if you're using this, because we're using OpenAI, we're using an API. There are slight charges from using the API key. You guys who have messed around with that will understand it's not immense. Like, just to give you an idea,
fractions of a penny.
Yeah, fractions of a penny. But still, like when someone buys our software, sometimes they'll be like, well, it doesn't work. And it's like, well, do you have an OpenAI account? Oh, no, I didn't know I needed one. So I just want to be very clear. You have to sign up for an OpenAI account. You have
to be clear on that. They're paying OpenAI and not you.
Correct. I don't make any money from OpenAI. In order for you to get access, because this runs on GPT-4, this is not 4.0 yet, or 4.0 or whatever the latest model is.
Terrible
it's just
name.
GPT-4. Obviously, as models change and progress, like we change and progress, we have to follow suit. But the reason you need to know this is if you don't go buy $5 worth of credits, it literally just takes $5 worth of credits. You don't have access as a chat user to the GPT-4 model. So that means you have to go sign up for the API, which is platform.openai.com.
Yes.
And then you can, like I said, put $5 from a credit, and then you can use the software. Now, people say, well, how much does that get you? Like, I forget, like I was running like full-blown campaigns, and yes, they were very minimal. Like, we're talking lots of articles being generated, lots of posts being generated. And it was like, hey, I did 26 articles and all these social posts, and I think it cost me like $1.25 or something, because it was a ton of stuff. But if you're just using it for little one-offs and stuff, I mean, yeah, like you said, pennies, like cents. It's not that expensive. I mean, articles in GPT-4 that are really robust and thorough are costing people like, I don't know, 19 to 25 cents maybe. Yeah. GPT-3.5's cheaper. GPT-4 will also get cheaper, but the most important part is that GPT-4 has 5 times the cognitive ability. And so when you're doing any type of content strategy or like database stuff that we're doing, like you need that comprehension. Without that comprehension, what 3.5 would spit out was just not acceptable enough to go to market with, which is why we just do the GPT-4. But many of you, I'm sure, are still using the GPT 3.5 model to write articles, right? I know lots of people that still use it and use it for all sorts of tasks, and it's really fast and it's great. But like I said, for this type of heavy content planning and running all these different language analysis types and working with these models, like we need the most power possible, which is why it runs on GPT-4. So,
All right. Jeremy says, can you use existing GPT-4 account? Yes.
totally. Yep.
Any plans to add AI images to the articles and posts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like if I had to be really excited and think like super long term, right? Like I'm a kid in like a candy store at this point. I don't want to make any promises on behalf of Marco and Rob, but like we definitely have talked about doing stuff where, hey, maybe it does images one day, maybe it even does videos one day, maybe it'll write your schema one day. Maybe it's because again, I want to be that lazy marketer. I want to be able to go in, say, okay, I'm launching a plumbing site or whatever, put in my keyword and click start, and then I'm going to go out for the afternoon. Maybe I'll play a round of golf and I come back and it's all done and waiting for me. That's like the dream, right? That's everybody's dream, is to click a button and have your job done. Do I think it's perfect like that? No, I think it's going to give you that base that you can run with. So do I think in the future we could be adding images and video and audio and automating other things? Yeah, totally. I think the cool part about being an early user is you can have my ears on where you want to go with it, right? I've kind of got it to a place that makes sense for me. And now it's our opportunity as a community that's using this type of, analysis, optimization, and content generation to really sculpt where it goes. Like, and I'll be a reasonable founder with all you guys and try to, take your suggestions. I think the first step has to be, though, get used to the desktop version for now. We'll get it to the cloud one day. And then once it's up there, yeah, totally. I could see putting in some extra features. And yes, we have some aces up our sleeve, especially that Marco, that we would come out with more stuff in the future that just makes your life easier. Yeah. And bulk content at scale is definitely something that we're paying attention, and automation, right? We have a lot of people we know are, queuing up sites, and that's why they want to see those Excel outputs. By the way, you might be looking at an Excel output of all the social posts, all the articles, all the titles, and be like, oh my God, I would never use a file like that. But then you have someone else who's like an automation person who says, awesome, I can take this spreadsheet and I can feed it into my existing process, and I can have auto publishing going on and auto this going on and automatic that going on. And like, so we're trying to play the line for both users. I want it super easy, one click button push for most people, and anybody who's more advanced, I want you guys to be able to take that raw data and run with it and go do massive things with it. So
Wonderful. I think that's a good place to wrap up. Any last, this sounds bad, any last words before we go?
I don't think so. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk about all this. And I know it was a big concept and it's a new concept. And I just think for those of you who are blown away by this, your mind's blown, like go back to the basics I showed you early on in this video. Just please start to learn about natural language processing. Please start to read about entities and sentiment analysis. And then I feel like not just SEO, but digital marketing will start to make a lot more sense for you. And you'll see how structured it really is and how successful you can be if you understand that. It's just unfortunate that most people haven't been exposed to it yet. It's also new with the AI stuff. It's easy to get lost. So
awesome. All right. And the URL is superstarseo.com/Maxima. If you want to check that out, I'll make a few cents off of that. So if that bothers you, then just go directly to the site. But that's pretty much it. We're going to thank Ed. Programming note: on Thursday, the 20th, I'll be back with our co-founder from Legit, Jim Spellico, who hasn't been on in several years. So that's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about our upcoming live event, Legit Live, that happens in September. And then I'm still booking up some other spots in the future. So I'll let you know once I know, get some people lined up. But if you want to make sure you catch any of that, please subscribe and do all those things. I've taken several YouTube courses over the years, and they always tell me to ask for subscribes. That I've never seen any evidence that it makes any difference, but I'm asking anyway. So thank you for that. And that's pretty much it. And I want to thank everybody who took the time to spend with us today. Most people were here from beginning to end, which is very, very rare. So thank you for that. I know that you have a lot of different things you could be doing with your time and your attention. So the fact that you spent it here is something I will always appreciate. So thank you for that. And last but not least, figure out what you want out of life and go out and get it, because you owe it to yourself and you owe it to the world. Thank you again, Ed. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you again soon. Peace.
Thanks, everybody.